And Hebrews 1:7 says, of the angels, he says, who makes his angels winds and his ministers the flame of fire. And I think Hebrews 1:7 is quoting from Psalm 104 right there. And then Hebrews 1:14 describes angels and says, are they not all ministering spirits sent out to render service for the sake of those who will inherit salvation?
Yeah, so this slide and the next two, we'll be discussing one of the types of angels. We got a variety of different, functions that these beings serve. However, these refer to a minister, someone that renders service and ministering. So that's interesting. What other passages would clarify what that means? Maybe Jubilees 31:14 says, and may the Lord give to thee and to thy seed greatness and great glory, and cause you and your seed from among all flesh to approach him, to serve in his sanctuary as the angels of the presence and as the holy ones. To serve in the sanctuary, just as those angels do. And so that would be a priestly duty, of a priestly capacity.
That's right. Real quick, we got a couple people in the chat. They're asking about Jubilees. I guess they're new to the idea of what Jubilees is. So just want to quickly give a brief summary. My channel, Kingdom in Context, I've done lots of videos on Jubilees, and also on my secondary channel, Kingdom Cast. So you're welcome to type in the YouTube search bar, Kingdom in Context Jubilees, or Kingdom Cast Jubilees. Videos will pop up for you. But in short, it's a book that was in other canons around the world. It's found amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls in great quantities. In fact, I think it was number 6 amongst all the quantities of volumes of manuscripts found. And then it's been in the Ethiopian Eastern Orthodox canon for over 1,800 years, to my estimation. So it's just an ancient book. There's historical, anthropological, and archaeological validation to the Book of Jubilees and the calendar there within, all dating all the way back to 7th century Israel. So 7th century BC Israel. So it's a wonderful book. Only in the 1st century did the same Pharisaical rabbis that was persecuting believers, and even Yeshua, those guys decided that the book of 1st Enoch, Jubilees, and the Testament 12 Patriarchs should not be read amongst the people. So we don't listen to rabbis in Judaism, do we?
No.
Because you know what the Bible says, Wes, when you reject the Son, you reject the Father.
That's right.
So yeah, we accept both the Father and the Son. We love them.
We do.
So this is that's why we are quoting a little bit from Jubilees, and we're also going to be quoting from Enoch too.
Yeah, it fills out a lot. Highly recommend this book. Definitely check it out. Jubilees and Enoch First Enoch are both excellent resources for being able to connect some dots that are not as clear in other passages.
Yeah, it's amazing. Here in the Testament of Levi, this is chapter 1, 21 through 23. Also a manuscript found with the Dead Sea Scrolls. It says, and in the highest of all dwells the great glory, far above all holiness, and in heaven next to it are archangels who minister and make propitiation to the Lord for all the sins of the ignorance of the righteous, offering to the Lord a sweet smelling savor, a reasonable and bloodless offering.
Very good. Very good. Yeah.
So this gives you a little bit more depiction, right, about the ministering part you read.
It does. It does. Those sins of ignorance and bloodless offerings. That reminds me of Leviticus. Is it 4?
Yeah, well, yeah, Leviticus, 1 through 7, all of it, all the sacrifices, the blood was to be drained out, poured at the basin of the altar, and you didn't want any blood actually cooked on the altar, because it's actually, in addition to a religious ceremony, it's also actually a part of the Father's dietary instructions that you don't eat blood.
That's right. Yeah. And those offerings that they would do on this altar would just be a fellowship meal, right? It's just the Father picks a hand, just like a king or a ruler wouldn't want just any stranger that could be his enemy cooking his meals. He hand selects his cooks that he wants. And so that he wants. So the Father does the same. He has priesthood of all varieties, and apparently some of them are angelic.
Now, some people may be kind of blown away, if you will. First time they're ever hearing this idea of an actual sacrifice brought to the Father as just being a meal that's being cooked before him. Guys, the whole purpose of these sacrifices wasn't to waste food. So just as we see that there is food in heaven, angels eat bread. What is on the table in the sanctuary next to the Holy of Holies? It's bread, the showbread, right? Remember, Moses was given instruction to copy everything that he saw in the heavens and tabernacle above to make as a copy on the ground. This is Hebrews 8, 1 through 5. It's also Exodus 25, 26, and 27. And so this is there's showbread in heaven. There's actual bread in heaven, right? I mean, we said was it Psalm 74 talks about Israel ate the bread of angels. We see and Matthew, I love this. I love, Isaiah 56:7 and Matthew 22:1-10, because we have the idea that there are meals being served in heaven. They're called sacrifices. They're called righteous gifts. And this is an angelic priesthood that we're reading about in the Testament of Levi that's bringing them before the Father so they can actually have a fellowship meal. So that's what a priest who ministers before the Father in his presence does. They bring forward these specific requirements and they cook them in a specific way, and they sit down and have a meal with them.
That's right, because they're not just floating around in a non-tangible existence of some kind of dreamy, wispy land.
That's right.
They're literally above a physical structure, which was given the name heaven, as we covered many episodes. If you haven't checked out the first episode, Sky's the Limit, check that out, because it'll give you a real tangibility, a physicality to what we're told is heaven.
That's right. Yeah. So there's trees, waters, mountain, animals, food, sky. Like it's very similar to the creation we have down here. They interact and they do things very similar up there. So I think it's fascinating.